Thank you, Floriana. Welcome, welcome. We're gonna give it a few more minutes. We're kind of running late this morning because one of my clients showed up early, and so I had to kind of like make sure I take care of him, let him know that he's too early, and and try to get him to come back later. So while I was doing all that, I was like scrambling to take care of my client, hoping that I would not be too late to start Ram Shop. But here I am this morning. All right, you guys. Bonjour tout le monde. Jodi a c'est vendredi. Il disait et puis top pour l'autre episode of Ram Shop Talks. Today, well, let me translate. Good morning, everyone. It is Friday at 10 a.m. and it is time for another episode of Ram Shop Talks. Today we will be doing, I wanted to kind of just like let you guys into what we're doing so that you are prepared. We are going to be doing St. Lucian Negroni, it's called, for our St. Lucian drink, our chairman's drink. Going down that chairman's menu of cocktails. I haven't tried it, so as with the last couple of drinks, you will be seeing my reaction for the first time when I taste it. And I apologize for the noise. You guys know it's Friday. My neighbors are getting their lawns handled, so there's a lot of craziness happening right now. Anyways, and for our legal part of our program, we will be talking about the types of assets that we typically see with an estate plan and how to fund those. I've been having a lot of questions about it from past clients and clients coming in. Hey Kiki, good morning. And so I figured that this would make a great topic to discuss because of how many questions that I get around it on a regular basis. So without further ado, we're gonna get started with our St. Lucian Negroni. So, as with every drink that we've done in the last couple of weeks, we start with our trusty Chairman's. Same as last week, we'll be using the Chairman's Spiced Reserve Rum. And then we'll be adding a few new ingredients. We have our Campari. So, I don't know if you guys remember, but I did an episode about Campari and I did not have a good drink for it. So I'm hoping that this will be a good drink for the Campari. Wish me luck. Next we have a ginger liqueur. It's actually sweet and spicy. It's like a sweet gingery, like alcoholic drink. So I tried it, of course. And then we have a sweet vermouth. So I've got my little mixing container right here because I like for you guys to see the colors as we go through it. And then we're gonna get some ice in there, just a little. And I've got my 1 ounce shot glass. And so this one we need 1 ounce of the Chairman's. And for you guys who don't have Chairman's but want to try these drinks, you can certainly use any dark spiced rum for this one, any dark spiced rum that you have. I was called a rum snob last night, like a St. Lucian rum snob, because my preference, of course, is going to be St. Lucian rums. But I understand if you don't have the same snobbery with regard to St. Lucian rum as I do. So whatever kind of rum you have, dark rum, dark spice rum, you can use. Next we need, let's see here, an ounce of the Campari. I think for me, the best thing about Campari is not the flavor, but the color. I'm really hoping that this mix will make this Campari a lot more palatable. So we'll see. All right. Campari's got like, you could taste the bitterness. You could smell the bitterness of Campari. You can. You should smell it if you don't believe me. Then it's a ½ ounce. So I'm just gonna eyeball a ½ ounce on this here. I think that's half. Of the ginger liqueur. And then we're gonna do a ½ ounce of the sweet vermouth. And so, and as you can see, I'm cracking the seal on this one for the first time because I haven't even tried it yet. So, all right, I think I'm got a little bit more than a half in there, but it'll be all right. All right, so we've got all our things in here. I'm just gonna move this off to the side. Grab our glass, and then we stir. It's a real pretty color, so it's got that going for it. Hey Tess, good morning. I know it was a big eyeball. All right, and I'm working my little strainer, you guys. I had to look up on YouTube how to use a cocktail strainer. So yeah. And we're gonna strain that in here. It says to put like a big piece of ice, and I don't have one of those big ice thingies, so I'm just gonna put like 2 ice cubes in there, and you garnish it with orange zest, make it pretty, and a piece of candied ginger. So I've got that right here. In we go. All right, cheers. Okay, very sweet, strong. It definitely cuts the bitterness of the Campari. So I actually wouldn't mind drinking this. I don't know, I probably would have just one though. It's like really, really sweet, but it's good. It really is good. I know I made that like really high voice. It's a good thing. That sounds like I'm lying, but it is good. All right, so you guys at home, try it. I will put the recipe in the comments below. This is called the St. Lucian Negroni. So, oh yes, you taste the ginger in there. The ginger came in kind of late, but you taste it. It's good. All right, so as I said, for our legal portion, we will be talking about the types of assets that we see when we do an estate plan and how we fund that into a trust. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the reason why I chose this topic is because of how many questions I get on it. Don't lie to us. I'm not lying. I swear it was good. And so for most people who come into my office, their main asset is real property, their home. And so we have an easy way of handling that. So the questions that do come up around your real property is, and we're going to be discussing each one of them. So people sound like, one of the questions that people ask is, hey, if I put this property in my trust, what happens when I sell it? Also, another question that we get is, what if I refi it? Can I refi it in a trust? How does that work? And if I buy at a property, how easy is it to fund? So we've talked about the fact that when I talk about funding your trust, I simply mean that you change the title of your asset into the name of your trust, into your name as trustee of your trust. So all of those assets will have that kind of titling to them. So real property, if you own a home, the best way to put that home into your trust is to make sure that a new deed is executed, titling it your name as trustee of your trust. Okay? Well, what if you refi? It used to be that when you refied, the bank used to have to pull the property out of the trust, do the refi, and then inevitably they'd forget to put it back in. But that's not the case anymore. Most banks will now do a refi, leaving your property in the trust, so that's an easy thing for you. However, if your title company, if your mortgage company, did make you remove your property in trust, make sure that a new deed is executed and that property is put back in, titling that property in your name as trustee of your trust. I'm gonna keep saying that so people get stuck, because I swear I see issues with it all the time. So that's why I'm on a loop with the repetitiveness of the titling. So that's real property. Well, next question. Well, can I sell my property in trust? Do I have to take it out? No. For you guys who have bought property, some of you guys might have seen on the deed, it says Joe and Margaret as trustees of their trust selling you their property. It's because they are selling the property as is in trust. And so that can be done. You don't have to pull it out of the trust. Well, what if I buy new property? What happens? You can actually, during the sale process, I always tell people, let your realtor and your title company know that you own a trust, that you have a trust, and that you'd like that asset titled into the name of the trust. One of the things that has happened is clients come back and say, well, my title company said they couldn't do it. I call BS on that. They can do it. They probably don't want to do it because it might hold up the sale for whatever reason. And if that's the case, definitely go to your attorney, or you can come to me and I will help you put that property in trust. But truly the easiest way to make sure that new property is titled into your trust is to do it during the sale process. One deed instead of two. What about out-of-state property? Out-of-state property can be funded into your trust. The way we do it is we hire an attorney in that state to help our clients draft new deeds and put that property in trust. So last thing, I have a lot of international clients. What about my international property? Well, we don't touch that in the United States. Well, I don't touch it. As a general rule, every country is going to have its own rules with regard to inheritances, and it's best to have an attorney who's licensed and experienced in that particular country to help with your assets. Whether that can be funded into a United States trust is going to be dependent on that state's rules. So like I said, it's best to have an attorney in that country help you with that. So all you St. Lucians who are on here who own property in St. Lucia or other countries, when you are creating your estate plan, make sure you get an attorney in St. Lucia to help you account for that property as well. All right, so that's real property. A lot of people out here in California own mobile homes. And how do we handle mobile homes? So it will depend on what interest you own in your mobile home. So if your mobile home is owned in a fee simple, meaning you own the property that is like the land that your mobile home is sitting on, that means that you would have a deed to that property. In which case, you can just do a deed and have that recorded with the recorder's the county recorder's office where your mobile home is located. What if you don't own the land that is underneath your mobile home? Then you have to actually if you go to the California Department of Housing website, there's instructions and paperwork that you need to fill out to have that mobile home added into your trust. So that is, like I said, the biggest assets that we see people come in, and the most common asset that we see people come in. Okay, next asset group, I guess you can call it. Checking accounts, saving accounts, brokerage accounts. How do we handle that? You need to speak to the institution that owns that account. They have, and usually it is a matter of you signing new signature cards, having the account titled as you as trustee of your trust, and getting you checks issued in that name as well for your checking accounts. Simple, easy peasy. Call the bank and say, hey, I just created a new trust, or I have a trust, and if you're opening a new account, tell the bank I have a trust and I'd like to have that asset, that bank account be funded into my trust. They'll help you. All right, next asset type, stocks. So stocks can either be certificated or non-certificated, meaning that I have an actual certificate for my stock, or it's held by a brokerage accounting firm and they're handling it. So a lot of you guys probably see your stock statements come from ComputerShare, for example. ComputerShare, they have and what I've got to find out is each stock is going to have its own form that needs to be filled out for that particular stock to be transferred into your trust, and the rules and the requirements of that transfer is going to be different. Some of them require just a notarization on that form. Others require medallion signatures. I can tell you medallion signatures are a pain in the butt. I'm not even going to go into it, but if that's the case, then you need to just figure out how to do it, or call someone who knows how to do it. I can, or go to the bank, they'll help you. So that's how you would handle your stocks. Also, if it's a certificated stock, then they're going to require you to turn in that certificate, and a new certificate is going to be issued with the title as your name as trustee of your trust. I know, like I said, I will keep saying it until it gets stuck in your head. That's how it's supposed to be titled. Next asset class, we call those tangible personal property. So your tangible personal property will be the things that you own, that you can see and touch, that you cannot, there's not an easy way to title it. So examples of tangible personal property would be my jewelry, right? My china pattern, my furniture, my car, my boat. I don't own a boat, but if I owned a boat, that would be my tangible personal property. And so how do you handle those? There are some lawyers out there that will tell you that you can put your car or your boat into your trust. I am not one of those lawyers. The reason why is because you could actually encounter issues with getting insurance. Like, insurance companies don't necessarily want to insure assets that are in a trust, like a car or a boat that's in a trust. So I don't recommend it. However, if you wanted to do that, if you felt like you wanted to feel secure knowing that that boat or that car is funded into your trust, then the first thing you do is get on the phone and call your insurance company and say, hey, I want to do this. Will this be a problem? Because if you don't call them and you do it, and then you end up with no insurance, well, that's your bad. So I did warn you. If you're gonna do that, the first call you make is to your insurance company, making sure that if you did put that boat or car into your trust, that it will be covered by your insurance. So what is my approach? Because I just said I don't do the whole funding of your car and stuff. What I use is what we call a general assignment. And it is a form, it's like just a document that I create that basically covers those kind of assets. And it says that any pieces of tangible personal property, such as vehicles, boats, jewelry, all of those kind of assets will be transferred into my trust. And so it's a way to encapsulate all of those small things that you own and have it be a trust asset without trying to figure out how to title and change title for each of those things, because a lot of those things you just can't change title for. So that is like our, what are we at, like fourth, I think, type of asset. And let's see, what other assets do I want to talk about? I've got a list here, you guys. And businesses. So if you own a business, how you transfer that business will depend on the kind of business that you own. So if you own a sole proprietor, you can just have a document drawn up that says you transfer your sole proprietor interest into your trust. If you own a LLC, we transfer the membership interest into the trust. If you own a corporation, we transfer the stocks into the trust. For businesses like LLCs and corporations, you want to make sure that the organizing documents, so your operating agreements, your corporate docs, that they will allow you to transfer those interests into a trust. So the first thing you do is to pull out those documents and take a look at them and see what it says about transferring. You don't want to transfer an asset into a trust that is not allowed. That is that is a forbidden transaction, because that can actually affect your ownership in that particular company. So make sure that it's allowed, and if it is, like I said, it's just a matter of creating a document transferring those interests or those stocks into the trust. And if it is certificated stocks, we just talked about certificated stocks, so if it's a certificated stock, you would have to get new certificates issued. And so that's how we handle businesses. There is a complication, and I'm just going to touch on it very briefly. If it's a professional corporation, for example, if it's a law firm or a type of business like that, we need to be very careful, because there are certain kind of businesses out there that only another professional in that particular field can handle that business. So you want to make sure that you create an additional document or a power of attorney giving a person with, so for me, I would have to have, and I do have, a lawyer who is assigned to wrap up my business if I were to be deceased or be incapacitated, because my husband, who's not a lawyer, cannot handle my legal files. So that's how we would handle businesses. And you might be sitting there thinking, well, what about life insurance policies and 401ks and IRAs and pensions? Those are assets, those are assets that we typically do not fund into a trust. These kinds of assets have beneficiaries already listed on them. I always make sure that the clients have a primary beneficiary and a secondary beneficiary listed on those assets, and have those assets passed outside of the trust. The reason why is because life insurance, for example, there are rules on what those proceeds can be used, and whether we, based on that, whether we force those assets to become taxable or not. We want to be careful about those kind of rules. And so as a general rule, and also pensions, there's rules on whether we can or can't put them into the trust. So we'd rather just have those have beneficiaries. So if you have 401ks, IRAs, if you have a pension, if you have life insurance, take those papers out, look and see who your beneficiaries are, make sure those are updated, and make sure that you have a primary and a secondary beneficiary on those. The only times I have assets like life insurance policies or IRAs funded into the trust, we don't fund them into the trust, we make the trust the beneficiary of that asset. And so when the client passes, those proceeds will flow into the trust. And so that's the only time we do that, and only when we have minor children who we don't want to be able to come into a ton of money without any kind of protection. So that's the only times that we would do that. So we just went through the different kinds of assets that I see come into my office. We also talked about how we want those to be funded and the process by which the funding takes place. If you guys have any questions about this stuff, definitely put your questions in the comments below or shoot me an email. You have no idea how often clients ask these questions, and even clients that have been in my office and we've talked about this, they go home and they forget. And so if you know this, then great. If you don't know it, it's a refresher. If you have an estate plan, you want to pull that and make sure those assets are titled, as we talked about, into your trust, because it makes absolutely no sense. Oh, good morning, Lou, thank you. It makes no sense incurring the cost of an estate plan, going through the process of an estate plan, and then having it fail when you pass away because you did not fund your assets into your trust, or that funding was done incorrectly. So that is Rum Shop for today. And of course, as we've talked about, it is the time when I stand on my pedestal and tell you guys that you need to go get registered to vote, and that if you aren't registered to vote, that you should do that. If you are registered to vote, you should look up your registration. I just had to do that because I got a letter in the mail saying that my address had changed, and so I had to look up and see exactly what my registration looks like in California, but also in Orange County as well, because I want to make sure I get my ballot, you guys. And so as I'm doing this stuff for myself, I think about you guys, and I want to just, like, encourage you to go and double check and make sure that the information in your registration is correct, that your ballot is going to be sent to the right address. So if you moved, that could kind of mess things up, and you don't want to find out on November 1st that your registration is wrong. So go to your state's website and look it up, make sure that you are registered, or that your registration is correct. We will see you guys next week for another episode of Ram Shop Talks. You have a wonderful Friday. Thank you for joining us. And go make that Negroni. And for you guys who think I was lying, that it tasted bad, go make it and then tell me what you think. Bye!